My name is Jeannie Shanzano. I'm a writer and a political scientist. A few months ago, my most recent book was released. And since it's the summer of 2025 and we are celebrating the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, I wanted to use this time to record a series of videos which speak to both that important milestone and my book. So I'm beginning each of these videos with a quote and then saying a few words about it. So the quote I'm using for the second video in this series is the following. Violence is as American as cherry pie. This quote has been described by some as shocking and repulsive, and since all violence is reprehensible, I want to just explain the context in which I'm using this quote. In the last video, I discussed the fact that honoring the framers during this anniversary means not only celebrating accolades, parades, and those kinds of things, but also recommitting ourselves to re-examining and revitalizing, and if necessary, reforming the system that they created. And so I wanted to begin this video with that quote, "Violence is as American as cherry pie," because it is a stark reminder of what happens in a system like ours if we don't periodically and systematically revitalize and reform it. And what we risk is violence if we don't take those steps peacefully and collegially. And we know this because historically violence has functioned as an important force for change in the United States. And there's a long history of this going all the way back to the framers, the colonists turned revolutionaries. And if you read or reread, and I hope at this anniversary time you do, the Declaration of Independence you'll find that it is an important justification for the use of force. And what does the document tell us? In it, they say that they were being oppressed, tyrannized by a king they described as a despot, and after repeated attempts to seek redress for the situation, they were ignored. And that left them with no choice but to revolt, which is, of course, an act of violence, illegal, but then and now largely regarded as legitimate. And I'm just going to read to you the justification in their own words. The framers said, "When a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and provide new guards for their future security." So the quote I began with, "Violence is as American as cherry pie," comes from H. Rap Brown. He said it in 1967 at the height of the civil rights movement. And like other Black activists at the time, Brown was initially attracted to and committed to nonviolence. But over time, he became disenchanted, frustrated, and increasingly attracted to the teachings of Black nationalists like Malcolm X and organizations like the Black Panther Party. Like others in American history, Brown, Malcolm X, the Black Panthers, they argued that the use of force, violence, revolution in the case of the framers, was legitimate under their particular set of circumstances. And in fact, the Black Panther Party, in their 1966 founding document, ends that document, the 10-point program, with that quote I just read to you from the Declaration of Independence as a justification for the use of force. In the 1960s, Professor St. Clair Drake described Brown's statement, "Violence is as American as cherry pie," as repulsive, shocking, but largely on point. He contended that whether we like it or not, violence is deeply ingrained in the American psyche and has long functioned as a force for change in our system, going all the way back to the founding. Because, of course, we are a nation founded in a revolutionary war that, again, was illegal but largely regarded as legitimate. And one way, then, to mitigate the amount of violence we've seen historically throughout American history and in the modern era is to ensure that people don't feel like the only option they have is to resort to violence. In short, to ensure that the system allows for peaceful progress, peaceful, collegial, collective, thoughtful reform. If we fail to do that, now at the 250th anniversary, what we risk then is continued bouts of political violence, and of course, the danger that ultimately everything the framers created is going to be at risk.